What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilk, and this is kind of a weird video to make, because this is not something I really thought was going to happen or had ever considered. It's a weird one, guys. So, if you didn't know, along with everything we got basically in the rerun for Grand Day, I completely forgot about these. You can now craft, if you are one of these, completionists, you want everything out there, you can now craft the behemoth weapons. Now, I'll tell you right now, these are not the greatest things ever. They definitely were, they were really substantial when they first dropped. They were really cool because if we kind of go in here to look at the details on these behemoth weapons, you can literally have up to 500 extra HP, which, consider back when these were a thing, that was insane. That was huge. That was so far beyond substantial. It's just hard to justify and put into words. To give an example, I'm trying to think. If we go back here to the album, let's go find one of my favorites. Would probably be the Leafia from the very first Halloween event. Oh, here's one for the very first winter event. So notice you can't ascend her because Hero Ascension was simply not a thing back then. Yes, there are units in this game you literally cannot ascend. That is a thing. So, in essence, this Winter Leafia, and a lot of people are probably not privy to any of this stuff, this Winter Leafia has a max HP of 2406. Now, when this first dropped, that was a really good amount of HP. But then consider the first anniversary rolls around, and suddenly she could have 2900 HP? That's insane. And at the time, I think Leafia was one of the few, or one of the many, actually, who didn't have a dedicated weapon. Obviously, Eyes did. Belle obviously did. Those two were kind of the first. And then they really started to pick up after that. But it was for the longest amount of time, we simply didn't have dedicated unit weapons. So, when the Behemoth weapons first dropped, they were absolutely just game-changing to an insane degree. Now, I do believe that actually we were gifted, if I go actually in here to... let's go to my equipment list. We'll go to weapon, and the easiest way to do this is literally just to find, like, long swords, physical, and then it'll tell us, okay, here's all your long swords. If I go all the way down here to the bottom, I have a bunch that I've apparently never upgraded, but here's Behemoth Greatsword, and I'm pretty sure if I go up here, there's one that apparently not actually, but I'm sure at some point I've upgraded a bunch of these Behemoth weapons, so it seems like we may have been gifted a few. Let's see if just the Behemoth Sword itself is probably one I would have at some point upgraded. It's just hard to tell, but I believe we were gifted a bunch of these. If not, so here's the Behemoth Sword. So this is one I've definitely upgraded. Let's see if we have another one. I'm definitely not going to give that to anybody. Let's see. And yes, unfortunately, there was a lot of things I have not upgraded. So there's that Behemoth Sword again. So if we're going to hear, no, okay. So there's not another one in there. So I wonder if that was the case. I've been told that we were gifted a bunch of them. I honestly hate to say I did not pay attention to that. So if you do not have these Behemoth weapons, they will be a fun asset to have. Now, the downside is most units, if not all units at this point, have a dedicated weapon. And obviously, you're going to get a big stat boost when you use that dedicated weapon. But hear me out on this, and this is something I was actually thinking about, whether or not I was even going to drop this video. Think about all the times we've run, big EX class events. And generally speaking, in an event like that, having more HP would be more beneficial than having more damage. Because when it comes to survivability, 500 HP can make or break your run. 100%. Now, I say 500 HP like it's guaranteed. The reality is, if you actually go in here, you would have to recraft a weapon quite a few times. Let's just go ahead and, recraft or rehammer a weapon. Let's go to rehammering, let's go to status, and let's just go grab any old weapon. Or, I'm sorry, not status, I'm sorry, attributes. Let's just go back to the longsword physical, and let's just grab our let's see. And that actually, there's something else I do want to mention in regards to this that I completely forgot to mention here at the beginning. Because for the longest time, this was the only weapon that would give you an HP boost. And then about, 2 years ago, they introduced the glorious weapons. Now, glorious weapons, there are actually a few more glorious weapons than there are behemoth weapons. I haven't actually sat down to figure out whether or not they've added the extra behemoth weapons. I don't see why they wouldn't have, but I honestly don't know. So you may be lacking a few behemoth weapons. But the glorious weapons were introduced as a way to essentially get those same perks, especially for, at the time, units that may or may not have had their own weapons, and then, add the extra HP and all that stuff. Once again, it was essentially, the glorious weapons became a replacement for the long, unattainable behemoth weapons. But here's the deal. Those require, if we go over here to the glorious weapon, they require the glorious badge, the one that you actually get from running a whole bunch of record busters. And you'll run out of those pretty quick. Whereas the behemoth weapons are actually really easy to farm up because they just require bones and the behemoth items from the current runs. And you can get tons of those, just tons of those per run. So really, if you're looking for an HP item, or you're just looking to collect in general, the behemoth weapons will be a fun asset. I won't think they're going to be game-changing, but they will be fun. Now, if you do have +2s, +3s, and you're looking to run some of the harder events that may or may not be incoming later, these will be a huge asset. Because remember, a lot of times anymore, we get units that have 100 to 120% buffs, either on stats or on physical and magic or element or whatever, or all the above. You don't necessarily need the stat boosts, the damage boosts, to finish out some of these events. But if you're +2, +3, sometimes that 500 HP will make or break a specific turn for you. I've had tons of these where just like, if I had 10 extra HP, I would have survived a crazy big hit. So, while the behemoth weapons are not new, and while they are definitely not the greatest things out there, there are specific instances in which they could absolutely save you. So definitely, I would say at least farm up one of each and have them on hand. Now, as I said before, though, I act like these are guaranteed to be 5 stats, and they absolutely are not. This one right here is 3 stats, and that's probably about the average. Now, you could rehammer all you want. I wouldn't recommend dropping Belos on this, or I would say Belos, but the Goib Nulaks. I don't think that's worth, but you absolutely can rehammer this over and over and over and over again and get specific attributes. Now, the real downside, the thing that kind of stinks here, is that when they reinitiated all the changes on attributes and all that stuff, how you can't now get lower attributes than what you had before. You can actually with these weapons, as you saw there. I went from having 300 HP down to having 200. That's just kind of nature of the beast. That they expect you to use the locks for that. But I've actually gotten a few of these up to 500 HP. And especially right now with the state we're at with the game, it wouldn't be a bad idea to consider looking into that. Try out a few runs, see if this will help you out. If nothing else, it's a fun collector's item that will literally never have a rerun again, and has really only been present once in the entire game's history. Maybe, I don't even think Grand Day got a rerun. I'm trying to remember if it did or didn't. I don't recollect it having. If it did, it wasn't really as grandiose as we had seen with like the Argo reruns or the Fianna reruns or anything like that. So just an interesting addition there. Just a fun little add-on that I wanted to poke at here. Not groundbreaking, but maybe this will help some people out there with their runs. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Like, comment, and share. We'll be back with more Danmachi Memoria Freese and more Dankuro coming up here really soon.